I've called it the 7 layers of security. But I think we should start with a fundamental observation. What we're trying to create with Bitcoin is a digital property network, something that will last for 1,000 years or 10,000 years. How do I create digital property in cyberspace? And we can call it money if we like, digital monetary network or digital property network. But what I want is a decentralized network that will last past the average life expectancy of a human being or an institution or a nation state. So how do I do that? Well, with the beauty of proof of work is that the network derives its integrity from the interplay of the miners and the nodes and the holders, or the wallets, if you will, but with a special emphasis on the miners. What do I define as security? Well, property needs to be optimized for integrity and durability over time. Integrity meaning the protocol can't be corrupted, right? Can't mutate. If the protocol mutates, we go from 21 million to 48 million, you get a monstrosity. Mm-hmm. So you don't want a mutation, and then I don't want it to die. So if I said I want to design an immortal creature, something that'll live for 1 million years, and I want it to maintain its integrity, then I've got to protect the protocol, and then I've also got to feed it energy and resources continually. And I'm just going to call that, and I have to protect it from a hostile attack in the near term. So a lot of times when we think about security, we think about just avoiding an attack, but really security is you can't attack in the near term. We don't want it to die. And most importantly, if you live, but you go insane or you get a grotesque mutation, then did you really live? So how am I going to achieve my quest for immortality in a network, right? And the beauty of proof of work is it is an open protocol that is Darwinian and competitive in a way such that it is not just self-correcting on the protocol level to ensure correct money, but it's also self-healing and it's adaptive to the environment around it. So I like to call these the 7 layers of security: an energy layer, a technology layer, a political layer, a financial layer, a network layer, a spatial layer, and a temporal layer of energy. Those seven various dimensions. So let's start with the first dimension of security, energy. Well, I have a hash rate. Say we've got about 100 exahash right now. Well, I have to feed it energy in order to create the 100 exahash. Bitcoin is a big customer of energy. So in fact, it turns out that Bitcoin is the most valuable use of energy, or maybe the most valuable, most compelling industrial customer of energy in the world right now. You can generate about 40 cents a kilowatt hour in revenue mining Bitcoin. So that makes it interesting because that co-ops all the energy industry. Mm. So one way that Bitcoin spreads and stays organically vital is it forms partnerships with the energy industry. If you have a volcano in the middle of Central America, the value of that energy sold within 500 miles of you is like 1 penny a kilowatt hour. Unless you sell it to Bitcoin, and it's 40 cents a kilowatt hour. So Bitcoin is the best customer for your volcano. Bitcoin is a customer of stranded energy, intermittent energy, energy on any frequency, and energy at any scale. And you don't need to be co-located with with an industrial customer or a consumer. And you don't need bandwidth. So for example, what's the second best, use of energy? Maybe like running Netflix or Google data center. But if you want to run a Google data center, you need to be within fiber optic distance of the major switching networks, because you're streaming video and streaming a lot of high bandwidth queries. So they're bandwidth intensive, and they need to be triple redundant because they can't fail. If you're trying to operate a car with Google Maps, you can't afford to have an outage in the network. So Bitcoin miners are so much better than a typical data center, because you could monetize the entire volcano, or you could monetize the entire waterfall, or the entire nuclear reactor, the full bandwidth of it. You could do it at the North Pole. You can do it with a satellite uplink. And you can monetize intermittent energy coming off of wind or wave or solar. And you can also shut it down in a heartbeat with fairly low economic cost. So that makes Bitcoin the most compelling technology for the energy industry that's come along this decade, maybe in a long time. The last big energy technology was aluminum, when people would use their excess their excess energy to smelt aluminum. Well, Bitcoin rebuilt up in spades. To do Bitcoin mining, you don't need a port to ship aluminum in and out of. You don't need an aluminum factory, which is difficult, and you don't need aluminum ore. And you also don't need the industrial demand for aluminum, which eventually saturates. Aluminum is a specialty metal.
Right.
So what is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is money.
Yeah.
Okay, so half of everything that the human race has is Bitcoin, or will be Bitcoin in time. So Bitcoin mining is securing and producing something which is of enormous value on a very thin line, based upon any flavor and frequency of energy. And there's really nothing like that. Why does that make the network secure? Well, Bitcoin miners are continually looking for new energy sources, and they're negotiating for cheap energy. And when they buy it, they become a big customer. So as they become customers of energy producers everywhere in the world, the energy producers become political allies of Bitcoin. So the energy producers are all regulated entities, but they're all very credible, and they all are wired in the political fabric of every society. So if you are the best customer of the utility in the city or the state or the country, then that utility has a vested interest in protecting your interest. So Bitcoin co-ops energy companies, and also Bitcoin is hope for a utility. If you're a value stock, 100-year-old utility company, you're not getting a high multiple in the stock market. There's not a lot of excitement. In fact, you're regulated, and there are limits on how much money you can make by selling your energy to consumers or to businesses. If the power company in New York City just jacked the price of energy by a factor of 3, they'd get shut down by their regulators. On the other hand, if you get in the Bitcoin mining business, right, you don't have those kind of regulations on you. So So Bitcoin is a chance for energy companies to become technology companies, and it solves so many of their problems. I can generate more revenue. Check. I can generate revenue at much higher price per kilowatt hour. It's a very high price customer. The value and use of electricity for a Bitcoin miner is higher than any other customer they have. So that's good. Check. It's portable. And so that means every place I've got stranded energy production facilities, I can move the Bitcoin mine to the energy. Check. That's interesting. It's an energy shock absorber.